Welcome to Michigan in Focus. I'm Bruce Walker, Great Lakes Regional Editor for the Center Square, and joining me today is Tom Ganter, Center Square Managing Editor, and he is going to be talking about a case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court that has Michigan ties. Tom, give us a little bit of background information on that, would you please?
Sure. The case is before the United States Supreme Court, and it's called Tyler versus Hennepin County, and the arguments begin April 26th.
And Hennepin County, where?
In Minnesota. And the case involves a Minnesota woman who owed $15,000 in taxes on her condominium, did not pay them. Hennepin County foreclosed on the property and sold it for $40,000 and kept all the money. And the debate is whether the government should be allowed to do that. Michigan's involved because they have the same procedure here in this state. And in this case, people, organizations that have an interest in it are allowed to file what they call amicus briefs, which is adding their opinion. And in this case, just yesterday, the Michigan Association of Counties and the Michigan Association of County Treasurers and Oakland County filed amicus briefs, and they were both sided with Hennepin County. And just to give you, we talk about this having Michigan ties. My news site I used to work at reported on a similar situation in 2016 where a Jackson woman, her name's Pam Baker, had her property foreclosed by Hillsdale County because she failed to pay a $7 late fee. It went up to auction and Hillsdale County sold it and kept the proceeds. So this does happen in Michigan.
All right. And I have another example for you, Tom. Scott McClellan and I reported on this. Raffaele LLC versus Oakland County. The Supreme Court ordered counties to stop profiting from the surplus of home tax foreclosures.
The Pacific Legal Foundation researched the issue and they found 8,950 homes and more than $860 million in what they term home equity theft from 2014 to 2021. It's a significant amount of money that's the government is seizing here. You have some strange bedfellows here because you have in agreement with the citizen here, who is a 94-year-old woman, by the way, is Americans for Prosperity and the ACLU. And they both are on the same side of this argument, siding with the resident. The legal question in debate is that the Fifth Amendment guarantees that the government cannot take private property for public use without just compensation. So on the one side is that the government should be giving the money back. And the ACLU points out that a lot of the people here are people of very little means, and many of them are elderly who cannot afford their property. Or in the case of the Jackson case I brought up earlier, you don't think you're going to lose your home over a $7 late fee you didn't pay or your property. On the other side is the government that says you have to go through you have to ignore a lot of precautions the government goes through to make sure this doesn't happen to get to a situation where we're coming in taking your property. There's a lot of notices and programs to help you not go through this that these people are ignoring. And the biggest of which is if you can't do it, sell your property yourself, get your money for it, and pay off your taxes and walk away with some money.
Sure. The
government also says that that's not their job to do that. And it shouldn't be the taxpayer's job to do that. That's what's argued in some of these. So the Pacific Legal Foundation, David Dearson, the attorney for them, had an interesting quote. And he said, you are dangling a get-rich-quick scheme in front of the government. That's what these things are. On the other side, Hennepin County says they don't make any money off it in the long term. The program itself is not profitable for them.
How can that be?
Because there's other expenses involved. There's also things like factoring in like that property. Other entities that rely on property taxes from that property are not getting paid either.
Okay, well, I'm looking at a case from a couple of years ago. This is a delinquent amount that was owed in Oakland County that was foreclosed. It was Tawanda Hall was the individual's name, and had a house appraised at $308,000 in 2018. It was sold to satisfy $22,642 in delinquent property taxes and fees. So yeah, a lot of that is still happening. It's still occurring. It's kind of staggering that someone could take a $300,000 home for a small percentage of property taxes owed on it and pocket the rest.
And on the flip side, the government say how many opportunities did the homeowner have to avoid that situation? I don't know the answer to that. And I don't think that's something you'd have to do a deep dive on to figure out.
Well, right. And I'm sure that there's a lot of private and government programs for assistance that one could avail themselves of before it comes to that.
In Hennepin County, they said that it was a 5-year process before they moved in on this and did the auction. So this is not happening overnight. There is a lengthy process involved in which there's communications. Now, sometimes, the Pacific Legal Foundation had a press conference. They said that these places are abandoned or not paid attention to, and somebody's got another property, and that they found that the government's only sending notices to the address of the property in question, which is what happened to Pam Baker in Jackson, is that the notices were being sent to a property that she no longer paid attention to, which makes it that much more difficult. And then also there was somebody at the Pacific Legal Foundation, a judge, a former bankruptcy judge, who said that people in financial stress don't often read their mail because they know it's bad news. And that is the way that the communication is done through the government. It's just like, I think a lot of this is education, is that these people don't realize that if you don't act, the government's not looking out for your best interests.
Tom Gantard is the managing editor here at the Center Square, and you can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. This is Bruce Walker, Great Lakes Regional Editor for the Center Square. Please subscribe, and thank you so much for listening.